What up, though, beautiful people? It is your boy, JB Ricks, a.k.a. The Ricks Review, in the building, making the debut of the Ricks Review podcast, and I am so honored to have my brother from another over here, 2015 Toledo Basketball Hall of Famer, Nick Moore, also going to be my golf contributor as we get into the deep part of the golf season, already upon our second major or whatnot, so that's why he is blessing us with the stage this evening to, going to talk some golf, we're going to talk some basketball, man. We're just going to sit here and kick it like we're in the barbershop, having some good sports talk, and that's basically what the Ricks Review podcast is going to be about. Sometimes I might be solo, sometimes I'm going to have a wonderful guest like my man right here. Just to give you a little bit of a background of myself, I've been in the business of sports journalism for more than 20 years. I was down in North Carolina for the past 13, 14 years or whatnot. Had some amazing moments covering all types of Final Fours, major golf tournaments, a Super Bowl with the Carolina Panthers. I got a nice little resume on me or whatnot, and I'm finally taking that jump off the ledge to go ahead and take a chance on life and get this podcast going, brought to you by Food Folks Fun Podcast Network. And here we are right now. Nick, again, I want to appreciate you. I want to share my gratitude for you coming on and joining, man. But give us a little bit of your background and you know, where you come from and why it's just so great to have you here to talk about basketball and golf.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, first and foremost, the pleasure is all mine.
No doubt.
Thank you for inviting me to be on your premiere episode, man. That means a lot. You know, we go way back, my
yes,
man.
Sir.
And anything I can do to ever help you, I'm always happy to do, man. So thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate that. Mm-hmm. As you said, a little bit about myself. I'm born and raised here in Ypsilanti, Michigan, just like yourself.
Yes, sir. Y-Town.
Y-Town. You know, had the fortunate opportunity to go to University of Toledo for college, played college ball there, had a very good, successful basketball career, and was fortunate to get the opportunity to go to Europe, man. And then I played in Europe for almost 10 full seasons, played in England, Germany, Spain. Got to travel the world and do something I love, so I feel really blessed about that every day of my life. And yeah, now I'm back here in the real world, you know, working the real world jobs.
Yeah.
And, but also staying as close to sports as possible because you know, that's who I am, that's what I love. So.
Yeah. And a funny story about me and my man Nick, we met back in 8th grade at St. Francis Catholic School in Ann Arbor, Michigan or whatnot, and he was the star as soon as he stepped on campus. You were there for just 1 year too, right?
Yeah, 1 year.
You were there for 1 year. We both were there for 1 year, 8th grade. That's exactly where we met, and he was the star when it came to the basketball scene. We just knew this dude had a bright future ahead of him. I was on the bench, but I was there to support. You know what I mean? We were on the same basketball team together, but you know, we built a friendship that is going to last a lifetime or whatnot. And now here we are making a debut or whatnot with the podcast, and you're joining me, man. So this is a brother from another, and I really do appreciate you coming on. Give me a little bit about your golf background too, because there's a reason why I want him to be my golf contributor, because this dude is teaching me all the tricks of the trades. He's always out there, you know what I mean, getting a nice little 18 in or whatever. So let's talk about your love for golf and how you fell in love with the sport.
You know, I was fortunate going into the University of Toledo, actually. I had a summer job, and the summer job I had was with a trade union down in Toledo area.
Okay.
And they would invite me to go out to golf outings with them in the summertime. So I got that opportunity, and one of them was gracious enough to gift me my first set of clubs, and man, the bug just ignited from there, right? And so I got to playing quite a bit from, I would say, the age of 19 going forward. But then I would say after basketball wrapped up and I was back, you know, without any other sport to occupy my time, I found myself looking for something else, and it became golf, you know. I really got dialed in with trying to become a better golfer and, you know, doing the old traditional things that every amateur does, watching every video he can get his hands on and trying every trick and buying too much equipment that I didn't need and all that good jazz. So, but, you know, yeah, I truly am a huge fan of the game, and having played a lot of different sports in my life, I would definitely say it is one of the most challenging sports out there.
No question. A pure athlete over here, but I'm telling you, he's mastered this game. That's why I'm confident in him being my golf contributor. When it comes to the sport of golf, the majors are a big deal for me. I covered a lot of majors while I was down in North Carolina. I love majors. They just just get me going, man. They really get my blood pumping or whatnot.
Everybody.
And that's why he's going to come on with me every week that there's a major. I'm going to have my man Nick on the show, and we're going to talk about, who we think has the leg up, to win that major that week or whatever, who we think is hot, who we think is cold, who could be a sleeper, all that good stuff. Nick is going to definitely provide that with us. Now, I am a little bit surprised that you said you really didn't get into golf until you got to Toledo, right?
Yes.
99.
Yep.
My story of how I fell in love with golf, 2 words: Tiger Woods. Yeah. Tiger Woods. I can remember when Tiger Woods won that first Masters back in 1997. Yeah. I was in history. I was in 10th grade, I believe, and that next day in class, that next Monday after he won it, our history teacher at that time, Mr. Green, rest in peace to him, he actually I don't want to say he canceled class, but whatever lesson plan he had for that day, he canceled that lesson plan out of the door, and he just strictly wanted to talk about how big of a deal this was that Tiger Woods went out there and dominated the competition at such a young age, and he wanted to talk about the impact that he was going to have as an African American coming into a sport that's been dominated, by the majority all this time. And for Tiger to come in, he wanted to know how we felt about it, and what we thought this could turn into, moving forward. And I've always been big about dominance. Mm-hmm. We come from the Michael Jordan era. We know all about that or whatever. So when Tiger, he basically came in right after Michael, because about 97, 98, and that's when Michael first retired with the Chicago Bulls. To see that domination, I fell right in love with it or whatever. And at that time, I didn't know nothing about the sport. Yeah. Absolutely. I was not watching golf at all. But Tiger Woods made me start watching golf. And then I just fell in love with the sport. Yeah. I fell in love with the competition. I can remember when Phil Mickelson won his first Masters. I believe that was in 2000. No, I'm sorry. Phil Mickelson winning his first major in 2004. And it was such a big deal. And it was just like such a great thing to watch and witness. And like, I don't know.
Time coming.
Exactly, and that iconic celebration that he had when he got that winning putt to get that first major. Moments like that. Tiger Woods and Rocco Mediate when he won that major. I believe it was the U.S. Open.
So if I could just clarify, I guess my love for the game started when I started to play it.
Okay.
Clearly, just like you, same era.
Yeah.
Tiger was what piqued my interest in the game.
Absolutely.
Right? He's what got me interested. He's what got me watching, sitting down and legitimately watching as opposed to just taking a nap to it on Sunday like I used to do as a kid. Right? But, so, definitely Tiger gets all the credit all day, every day. I mean, you listen to all the young players and even aging players. Like Rory is kind of aging in the game now, right? But they still all give all due credit to him for taking the game to the next level. Like you and I might say, Michael was able to do from what Magic and Bird did in their era. Michael took it to that next level because of what? The marketing dollars and all that, that capability that he brought along to the game that now these guys all enjoy. So definitely Tiger was that catalyst to get me into the game. And now, the game has just exploded, and there's so many guys to enjoy and watch that it's going to be a special weekend, I think, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to piggyback off of that or whatever, what do you think about the way the golf game has exploded, even outside of Tiger, and the impact that he had, because there's so much great competition out there? You got different leagues out here now, what I mean? Live Golf League or whatever, competing with PGA, and a lot of the big time names from the PGA going to Live. The diversity of golf, man, what do you think about the way that has grown since Tiger brought it to that spectrum?
I think it's a wonderful thing. I think that no one could argue against, go back, because, how's the old saying go? Video don't lie. Go
the
back
ball don't lie.
Look at the old 1980s, 1990s golfers, and then look at today's golfers. We're talking about a whole different kind of athlete a lot of times, right? These guys are physically more fit. That's why they're able to hit the ball as long as they are, not to mention the technology tweaks. But I think it's a really cool thing to see athletes diversify over any different sport, right? Yeah. Whether it be, soccer, baseball, wherever they're going, to see different athletes show up in different worlds where you didn't think they would be is always pretty cool.
Yeah. Who are some of the young guns out there right now who you think could be kind of like that next generational player right now? I mean, you got Rory doing his thing right now, whatever, and Tiger is kind of like, just kind of fading off or whatever, but you got a lot of young, talented guys. Who do you think could be that next generational golfer?
Oof,
That's a good one.
the generational golfer is a hard one to answer, right? Because yeah, it just is. But I mean, my go-to right now would have to be, and I apologize if I pronounce his name wrong, but Ludwig Alberg.
Alberg, yep.
That kid.
He's good. He's great.
His composure is something that's outrageous. Like his heartbeat doesn't look like it raises at any given moment, and these very intense, moments. You know, you're talking $1 million plus putts on the line, and this guy looking like he's, about to go grab an ice cream cone or something. So, right?
Yeah.
So like that is very cool to see out of a guy so young and who, in a traditional sense, we would say doesn't have the experience.
Yeah.
Right? But it's pretty cool to see young guys like that step up. I'm a huge fan of Sahith Theegala as well.
Ooh,
I really like him, man. He always surprises every weekend, I feel like, and is right there in the mix to make a run. And he's a fun young guy that, I think a lot of the kids like to watch as well.
Yeah.
DeChambeau, speaking of somebody people love to watch.
That was going to be my guy.
Yeah, DeChambeau is a guy who, like, from, his social media presence and what he's doing, that I think is really cool when we talk about how golf is changing and expanding golf. He's doing such a great job of, tapping into places that maybe golf wasn't as well known. Same way Tiger did during his era. I think, DeChambeau's doing a great job with that right now.
Yeah, and when you talk about DeChambeau, as you bring him up or whatever, what do you, for me, what really attracts me to his game is his power. He just has that. Obviously he can drive that ball just like Rory. You know what I mean? That's what Rory's known for or whatever. But DeChambeau has that power, but he's also got that swag. He's got that bravado or whatnot. Like he's not afraid to talk a little smack to you or whatever and let you know what it is and just come out there with that bravado. How good do you think, like, having golfers like that or whatever who kind of maybe cross the line from time to time or whatever when it comes to the etiquette of the sport? It gets more people kind of like their eyes on the sport, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. I believe edgy is always good in a sense, right? You need to have an edge. You need to bring an attraction to whatever you're doing, because the truth of the matter is, you as well as playing golf, you're in the entertainment industry, right? And so he understands that. I think he does a very good job of wearing his attitude on his sleeve, but then also the nerd in me really appreciates how calculated he is, right? He's one of the most calculated guys out there on the tour. Yeah. And, being a golfer myself and having my little, quirky calculation things I try to do out there, I can appreciate that, and I see why it makes such a difference in this game.
Yeah, I love it, man. Well, we're speaking about all these great golfers, you know what I mean, of this present generation right now, and like I said, it's major week. It's the PGA Championship is taking place down in Charlotte, North Carolina right now, and like I said, I got my golf contributor. I want to talk some golf right now or whatever and talk about that major event taking place. I'm very familiar with Quail Hollow. Yeah. I spent a lot of time down in North Carolina, Greensboro, Raleigh, Charlotte. I was all over the place down in that state. Even the coast. Shout out to Wilmington. I ain't forgetting about y'all or whatnot. But Charlotte is where Quail Hollow is, and I've witnessed Rory win golf tournaments there. I've witnessed him dominate golf tournaments there. And going into this PGA Championship, he's coming off the biggest win, obviously, of his career. Ending that 11-year drought of winning a major at the Masters, his first ever green jacket, and it gave him the career Grand Slam. And he had a quote earlier this week during his press conference where he said winning that Masters is going to be the biggest achievement of his career. And I want to beg to differ with him a little bit, and this is why. Rory right now does not have that pressure of trying to get that final major to get that career Grand Slam. Yeah. He doesn't have that pressure anymore of ending that 11-year drought. Now he can just go out here and be the best golfer that he is, and go out there and perform. And he's doing it. He's going out here and performing week in and week out or whatnot. And now you're following up that Masters victory with a performance that could take place here at Quail Hollow, where he's had tremendous success. You go 2 for 2 with your majors. Then after that, you got to go ahead and look at Oakmont Country Club, where the U.S. Open will be played next month. That is down in Corinth, Texas. Okay, now that might be the one that may be the most difficult for him to win if he wants to get the calendar Grand Slam, right? Because the Open will be the last one at Royal Portage. I hope I'm saying that right or whatever. Yeah. That's going to be the last one, and that's his neck of the woods. That's his territory right there. So, in my opinion, if you can pull it off here at the PGA Championship, pull something, a rabbit out of the hat at the U.S. Open Championship, and then you go and get the Open 2, that's going to give you the calendar Grand Slam. So there's still so much for Rory to go out here and achieve, in my opinion, okay?
Lot.
But I know we got to sit right here with the PGA Championship. I know he's the betting favorite, in my opinion, or whatever, but you wouldn't put that bet down, right?
I would not. I
Okay.
would not. And this is my reasoning for that. Yes, Rory has finally achieved what he's been longing to do, right? And win every major, all 4 majors. And yes, that has got to be a tremendous relief off of him. But I also just feel like to try to do the calendar year one, that's a whole lot of pressure.
It's a lot.
Right? That's a lot of pressure. And now I think, unfortunately, what we're doing is also discounting how truly talented the rest of the field is.
True.
Okay, back when Tiger was in his heyday and we was talking about calendar year, you know, Grand Slams and whatnot, because we haven't really been doing that since, except for Scheffler. Scheffler had that over the last 2 years.
Yep.
You know, he had some potential to do it as well. But what I'm trying to say here is it's just not something we frequently talk about, the calendar year one. And so I think that's going to be a lot of pressure on Rory to achieve, especially given just how competitive it is week in and week out. I mean, like, I mean, dominance that Tiger used to once hold, and we would see that. I think that's so hard to see. And I think that's why it was so special to see Scheffler do it for just a little bit over the last year and a half, too. His dominance was just that, like, you know, walking in, it was like Scheffler versus the field, right?
Yeah.
And some people were like, okay, Scheffler then. You know, he's dominating like that.
Yeah.
But without, you know, I just don't see it happening too often. And unfortunately, I don't see Rory being able to do that. I wish it would be a great story for the game of golf. But I
love it.
See it happen.
That's my thing, though, man. I love great stories, man. I just love seeing history made, man. That's why I'm so into sports. That's why I've been chasing this career for my entire life, man, because it's what gets me going, the passion, and just seeing, like, historic moments. Like Rory winning the Masters and getting the career Grand Slam. That was a historic moment right there, and that's why he's so big on that, saying that's going to be probably the biggest moment of his career. And he's not even thinking about the pressure. But guess what, Rory? I am. I'm thinking about the pressure of you going out here and trying to get a calendar Grand Slam, because I do believe he will win this week in Quail Hollow, and then boom, we'll just go from there or whatever, and 2 for 2, maybe go for 2 for 3 or 3 for 3, and then we'll see. But give me some names or whatever who you think could pull it off in PGA, because I'm putting my money down on Rory.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, some of the other favorites that I would consider would be DeChambeau.
Yep.
He's been showing up big time in all of the majors, coming from the LIV Tour, looking like one of the guys that hasn't lost a step at all by playing on LIV. You know, he's still very competitive.
Albert,
who I mentioned before.
Absolutely.
You know, the young guy, I would definitely not count him out. Justin Thomas, he's been playing really well this season as well. And
Poston, I know you mentioned Poston, right? JT?
Poston, I wouldn't bank on so much, but I am a big Xander Schauffele fan.
Schauffele,
Schauffele.
I like Schauffele.
And then who knows? Just for an outsider's bet, maybe I'd throw my guy Tagala up there.
Okay.
Wishing and hoping.
And we cannot leave Scotty Scheffler out of this mix either. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that we're not really talking about him the way that we should, because I haven't checked the rankings this week, but I assume Rory's probably number 1 right now, but Scotty's got to be right up there.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, when you're talking about the top 5 players in the world, you're talking about a very small margin of difference, and that's just based on points. The reality is any of those guys can go out there and light up a golf course at any given time. And so, like anything in sports, it just kind of depends on the moment and who rises to the moment the best, right? So, unfortunately, we've been seeing this season that Scheffler hasn't been rising to that moment the same way he was in previous years. But without a doubt, the talent is there. So will he be back? 100%.
Yeah.
So that's why I say it's hard to just go with Rory, because a guy that like Scheffler, who's also used to being in that winner's circle and doing it repetitively, he has that know-how, that mindset, and so
Yeah.
hard to discount that.
I love the familiarity, too, that Rory will have with this golf course. But let's kind of get into the tactical side of things, of maybe things that you think we should be looking out for. You know what I mean? Going into this weekend, as far as the course specifically, I'm not sure how much you've been able to prep going into this major tournament this week, but what do you think will be some of the key factors in coming away with that Wanamaker Trophy in Charlotte on Sunday?
to your point about Rory being one of the favorites there, one of the reasons why is because everyone knows Rory's one of the best long hitters of the ball, right?
Yeah.
Off the tee, he's hard pressed to find a better driver of the ball in the game, right? Mm-hmm. And so that is one of the most challenging things at Quill Hollow, they say, to be able to hit long, straight drives, you know, keep it in play like always. And Rory's a master of that, right? So that gives him an advantage. So that's one thing you're going to probably hear a lot about throughout the weekend is who's driving the ball well. And then, you know, a stat that I always love to hear them talk about is strokes gained putting, right? So, you know, if you think about your standard par 4, for example, you drive the ball, you hit the fairway, you take your second shot, you land on the green, and 2, now strokes gained putting, you know, how many guys are knocking in that 1 putt versus, you know, 2 putting for par, you know? So things like that are always interesting, and when guys are making their runs, that's usually one of the key stats that is helping them to make that run. They're gaining up strokes with knocking down putts. So the name of the game has never changed, you know, drive for show, putt for dough.
Putt for dough all day, every day, man. So, okay, all right. So going into the weekend, the tournament is already underway or whatnot. But you know what? We know who the big time players are going to be when it comes to Saturday and Sunday. I'm sticking with Rory. Who's your number one guy that you're going with to win it? You got to give me one. Can't name a few. You got to name one. I'm going with Rory. Who's your betting favorite?
Man,
I'm putting you on the spot, baby. That's what we do here on the Rick's Review, baby. We gonna put y'all on the spot.
But I'm going to say DeChambeau.
DeChambeau. I love it.
We're just talking about long, straight drivers of the ball. He's another great long, straight driver of the ball. So if I had to choose, I would say maybe him. Yeah.
Well, I love it. I can't wait to see how it all plays out. Like I said, just the majors really gets my blood pumping, man. I watch golf, you know, on a weekly every Sunday. I'll check in and see what's going on. But those majors, I'm watching from beginning to end, man. I just can't get enough of them, man. So
the production of them all, the way the players prepare, how locked in and focused they are.
Yeah. And you got the best competition, too.
The best
competition every single time, man. So if you're not too much into golf yet, man, just trust me, you are missing out. It is a wonderful sport. Definitely, you know, get out there, even learn the game, and it's a beautiful sport to play in the summertime. You get some good exercise in, doing a nice 18. I know you do it on a daily basis. I need to be doing it on a daily basis.
Around,
hey,
beer, you know,
exactly, man. It's great
nature,
stuff.
Right?
Yes, sir. I want to go ahead and transition into the basketball realm now. Like I said, my man Nick here is a Hall of Famer at the University of Toledo, class of 2015. Wonderful basketball player, played professionally for more than 10 years overseas. And I just want to kind of pick your brain about a lot of the things going on in basketball right now. We'll start, you know, at the collegiate level. And I've been calling it ever since NIL came into the fray, ever since the transfer portal kind of like took things over. It is the wild, wild west right now in all of college sports, but like specifically college basketball. You got players transferring like it feels like every other week, man, is somebody transferring here and there or whatever. And then the NIL money is crazy. You played college ball. And I just would love to hear your thoughts on how you have seen the game develop and everything, how NIL has had its impact compared to when you were playing back during your time and where it is right now. Like how astonishing is it for you to see kind of the numbers that some of these kids are getting with those paychecks?
Yeah, it's quite astonishing. But you know, I'm a person that believes in change, and I believe things have to change to become better. And this is where we are, right? We've known for a long time that universities can profit very well from athletes that come through their doors. And I just think, man, what a blessing to be a collegiate athlete at this day and age, because now you can benefit from it as well, right?
And your family, and your families too.
I mean, that being said. Am I salty? It didn't happen in my era.
I'm curious. Right? Okay, I'm curious. Right? I'm curious.
You know, I was talking to a buddy of mine. He was like, man, Nick, thinking about the trajectory of your career and how these kids are moving around now, he was like, you probably would have played 1-2 seasons at Toledo and then probably have had the opportunity to bump up your NIL and potentially bump up the conference you were in, going from a mid-major school like Toledo to maybe a Big Ten school, or maybe, you know, off to the Big East or whatever the case might have been back in those days. But that's the nature of the game now. So when you talk about how different it is, for me, it's like, wow, night and day. Because when I started my freshman year, at Toledo, had you told me, hey, don't get too comfortable because you might be, out on the West Coast come, 2 or 3 years from now, I'd have been like, what are you talking about? Like, right? But that's just the norm now, right?
Exactly.
Like, and,
and back then, though, if you transferred when you were playing ball, you would have to sit out a year, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And there's
a sit-out rule.
Yep.
So, that was another discouraging factor from guys wanting to move around and missing time on the court because of doing so. But now, they got rules where when kids go to junior college, those junior college years don't actually even count against their
their eligibility
for Division I and Division II level. So it's the game is completely different. It's changing for a whole bunch of different reasons that I don't know if I understand all of them. But, honestly, I'm happy for the players that are participating because they do have an ability to make money off their name, like an image, right? And so I know my senior year of college, I could vividly remember sitting in the dorm room with my teammate. And we're playing NCAA college basketball, and we're playing with ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Like, got a dude looking just like me, same hair.
That's crazy.
Shooting and everything. I'm like, hey, this is cool. I'm playing with myself, but now these kids actually maybe benefit off of that money, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome to see.
Well, did that ever cross your mind, though, while your senior year?
Never.
You're sitting there, it never crossed your mind to be like, yo, I should be getting paid for this right now?
Heck no, not back then. Like, we were
You just thought it was cool.
We were still drinking the Kool-Aid that you get in the free education, right?
Yeah.
So that was part of the scholarship. You get free education, and okay, now I run with that, right? So, but that's because that's what was available at the time. Now these, to your point, some of these kids now have the capability of setting themselves and their families up really well. And I hate to say it, but it is also the reality. But some of these guys are going to make more money playing collegiate basketball than they may ever do.
Facts.
Like on the professional level, right?
Unless
they continue to take it over to Europe, but into the NBA might be a challenge for them to make the same kind of money. But hey.
That's a solid point, though, because let's just talk about the women's game, you know what I mean, alone or whatnot. The money that they're able to make, in women's college basketball compared to what they're making in the WNBA right now, that it makes sense to stay an extra year or 2 or 3 or whatever because you're making that much more money playing college basketball compared to the WNBA. Now, I'll be honest when I say I hope that gets remedied. You know what I mean? I really do hope the WNBA gets to a level where that's not even a discussion anymore. Obviously, like the NBA, you're getting crazy money, and the NIL money can't compare with the money you can get in the NBA. But I would love to see the women's game get to that level, the WNBA specifically, get to that level where they are making money to the point where they don't have to stay and get that NIL money.
Yeah,
but
that'd be nice.
That's another bonus of the NIL. I personally, I love that these kids are getting paid because these are billion-dollar businesses we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yes, y'all do deserve your piece of the pie, and I'm glad you guys are getting it. Do you think it's getting maybe a little out of hand at all, or do you think it's like there's
totally nervous.
There's $1 million contracts going on out here for these 18, 19-year-old kids.
Oh yeah, I remember talking to someone at the end of last season, and they were talking. I think we were talking Michigan football. We were talking about your favorite, right, Michigan football.
Don't get me started.
About how what the price tag was to get a quarterback out of the portal, and they were saying like, at minimum, to get a solid quarterback, it was a minimum of like $1.5 million a season, right? Now, and I might be off, right? I'm not exactly sure the numbers, but the idea of just like, wow, that's what it takes to get any kid into the program now at that level or at a University of Michigan level is like that. It's scary because it's like, okay, where's the ceiling? How far does it go?
Well, speaking of that, you know what I mean? The same goes for the transfer portal, too. You know what I mean? Because, like, there's just no continuity, you know what I mean, with these programs now, unless, you like the big-time programs like, the Connecticut's, maybe the Dukes, you know what I mean? But even, like, cats in North Carolina, like, these guys are up and transferring, every day, all day or whatever. Is that getting out of hand? You know what I mean? Because...
Yeah, you know what? I really appreciate what Shaq just came out and said as far as him contributing, funds to the NIL at LSU. And he said, unless we get some of these players to make a 2 or 3 year commitment, he was like, I don't know how much I'm going to be contributing to this, right? Because that constant turnover, what we're seeing now is it changes that the pageantry of what was college basketball, right?
Absolutely.
Where you knew Mateen Cleaves was coming back to Michigan State for his senior year, and you couldn't wait because that was going to be the run, right?
Yeah.
Everybody was waiting on, and now they had the full, So like that whole pageantry has gone away, and now it seems, it seems like it's just like
it's a business now.
Who can put the best team together
for that one
over
year
the summer?
Yep.
Like who can form the best team? It's almost like a very organized pickup game. Right? It's like who's going to get the best pieces in order to run the court for that time period.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah. What do you have any suggestions? What do you think could? I mean, because there's rumblings out there, whatever, that the government should get involved or whatever, and I don't know about all that, but like you got different legislations throughout each and every state or whatever, and that's what makes it so hard. There's been talks about maybe a real solid commissioner, over college sports, or maybe over college specifically a sport, whether it's college basketball, a commissioner for college football. You have any ideas on how, like, maybe we can get this thing a little bit under control? Because
I think, as much as people kind of didn't like the idea of the NCAA organization, I think, the organization as a whole still needs something like that, to your point, some kind of overseer, some kind of general manager, same way the NBA does, and they, hey, if this team spends over the budget, they got to pay the excess tax.
Yeah.
So like some kind of overseer, I think, is definitely going to be needed because to your point, it's the wild, wild west right now.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, I don't know anybody that's going to compete with that Texas wild, wild west. So I expect them to just continue to put out very strong teams, not only in football, but just the amount of athletes in general. I mean, look at Baylor, look at Houston.
Yeah.
Like
hotbed of talent down there,
hotbed of talent, but also Texas is, a lot of money down there, always traditionally, especially for football and the like. So to bring that into the basketball world now for Houston and the like is going to be a game changer, right?
Yeah.
You'll probably see them there a lot more often, right?
Yeah.
I will tell you one of the things that makes me the saddest about the NIL era is that I think it's the death of the Cinderella teams, right? Because how do they compete? How do you keep up? You can't, right? You can only get the mid-major level players, right? Whereas, and obviously your mid-major players that are really talented might not be with you very long.
They end up going to another
right?
to another major university.
They ever build to compete unless you just really come across a group of guys that are that into making a university great and want to see it revive or something. I don't know how it happens.
A lack of parity is definitely on the rise. You know what I mean? As long as as long as there's no cap, you know what I mean? As long as there's no type of control over this wild, wild west culture that is going on in college sports, the lack of parity is definitely going to go up in all sports across the board. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. We see how things have changed in college football now. They've gone to an 18 playoff, and I guarantee you they're going to find a way to expand that even further. A 12-team playoff. I'm sorry, is it? Yeah, 12-team playoff or whatever. I can't even keep up myself or whatever with how they keep changing it or whatever. Yeah. So, I mean, just the way college sports is going right now, it's definitely a different day and age or whatnot, and it's must-see TV to see how it all plays out, man. It's like the ultimate soap opera right now to see how this is going to end. But let's go ahead and bump up to the professional leagues. And like you said, you did play professionally overseas, but NBA playoffs are obviously the major topic right now when it comes to the basketball hardwood or whatnot. And you got teams vying to win that championship. Any big surprises that you've noticed so far? You know what I mean? Up until this point of the playoffs, as we come up on the conference finals here soon.
Yeah, I mean, two of the big surprises for me are coming out of the Eastern Conference right now. Number one, the Knicks. I didn't see the Knicks being as tough, as good as they are.
Yeah.
Playing against our hometown Detroit Pistons, I was like, all right, but we still got that toughness edge, I feel like, and based on the fact that we lost a couple of those games by a couple of points, I felt like it was
cheated out of one. We don't got to talk about that though. We'll talk about that another time.
But either way, I thought we could tweak and make the changes that we needed to do to overcome and beat the Knicks actually.
Yeah.
But then obviously Brunson proved all that wrong with his heroics.
Listen,
I'm a guy. Honestly, intrinsically, I have a hard time liking Brunswick.
Yeah.
But when I watch him, it's hard to not give the man his roses and appreciate what he's doing out there because, he is having some outstanding performances, right? So the Knicks has been one of my biggest surprises. And then I'm going to say the second out of the East Coast has been Indiana. I didn't see Indiana taking care of Cleveland the way they're doing. And honestly, I think it's an outstanding moment for Halliburton.
Halliburton
Just recently was voted as the most overrated player in the league by his peers, right?
Oh, so, that put a chip on his shoulder.
Heck yeah.
That put a chip on his shoulder.
Out, respond the way he has, and it's one thing to have a chip, but it's also another thing to follow through with the chip and do what he's doing. And so it's been pretty cool to see that and unexpected for sure.
Yeah, and I'm super happy for Halliburton because he got that little snub as the most overrated player, and he's letting everybody know right now, overrate this. You know what I mean? Y'all can find me in the conference finals or whatever, and go ahead and rate my play in this. While y'all sit at home at the crib watching on your couch, judge this. You know what I mean? Go ahead and pull out your pens and your pads on this or whatever. I got the surprises for me right now is injury based. Jason Tatum, seeing what happened with him or whatnot. I mean, when I was watching it live, I'm sure we all were watching it live or whatnot. And I'm watching the replay over and over and over again. And I've seen players, tear their Achilles before or whatever. But I've never seen them have that reaction that he had or whatnot. So that's why I was like, man, is it something else? Is like, what's really going on? But
they say it's one of the most painful when that Achilles pops and it's just like you just start walking and you can't walk and just flop. And it's like, I've heard by many a player and knock on wood, because I still play, but that's been my, the injury I've been the most afraid of.
And you should be. That's a devastating injury. Jason, I covered him at Duke. I covered him his lone season with the Blue Devils and whatnot, and to be able to watch and witness him develop into one of the best players in the NBA, him getting his crowning moment with the NBA championship last year and trying to defend that this year and just seeing him go down like that. And that's at least a year-long recovery, right? You know what I mean?
It's a big blow to the Celtics.
And I feel like he's like so young, you know what I mean, to be dealing with an injury like that. You know what I mean? Young. That's what really threw me off. Like, man, the stuff like that shouldn't be happening to him. But then you got on the other hand,
it's the wear and tear of the body, man. You know? Hey, it can only take so much. Those guys, they pound, and practice, whether it's through the games, whether it's through their workouts. And I get they got all the additional recovery techniques that they use these days, but I still feel like it's probably your body just
and it can happen to anybody. It can happen to anybody. And speaking of anybody, look what happened with Steph. You know what I mean? Like, hey, if Steph does not go down in that series against Minnesota, that series is at least going 6, and I'm putting my money on the Warriors, man.
Really?
If Steph, I'm putting my money on the Warriors if Steph doesn't go down.
Denied.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that in a minute. We're gonna get to Ed here in a minute. But like, that was just a big surprise to me because like Steph, I know he had that little part of his career where he was dealing with a lot of ankle injuries or whatnot. But outside of that, he really hasn't had many injury. He doesn't have that big of an injury history or whatnot. So I remember I was watching Game 1. I was actually at an event covering for Food Folks Fun for this movie premiere or whatever. But I had the game on the side. Because the Warriors, Steph is my guy. Let me be clear. Let me put that on the record right now. When Kobe officially retired, I had to find that new player who I was going to ride or die with, and it was an easy choice to pick Steph Curry or whatnot. So I've been riding or dying with Steph since Kobe retired or whatnot. And so, like, I know his history. I know every single year that he's done, what he's been able to accomplish and all that. And for him to get a hamstring injury, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, yo, that's definitely a hamstring. But then I'm thinking like wear and tear, like you said, and he's got a much older body or whatnot. And those hamstring injuries, they linger. That's what I hear most. I've never had one myself, but I'm pretty sure you've probably dealt with something, of that magnitude or whatever. But what is it about hamstring injuries that makes it so hard for you to like come back and recover from quickly?
I'm not a doctor, so don't,
No, but you're a professional basketball player, though.
I think it's just a delicate muscle, that unfortunately it takes a little bit of extra time during the healing process for it to come back fully. And when you think about it, because of, when you're running or you're jumping, you're exploding, that's an explosive action. So even as that muscle is recovering, if you just start to get back into those things, it can easily be agitated again. So, from that standpoint, I think it's definitely one of those injuries that, trainers like to be precautious with and make sure they don't try to, push the player too hard with and let them come back in a timely manner. So, but again, I'm not a trainer. I'm not, but I have had a few hamstring pulls, never a tear, thankfully. But yeah, they linger with you.
Yeah.
Right? So you just got to kind of be gentle on the comeback.
Yep. Well, unfortunately for my Warriors and Steph, they were eliminated by Minnesota, so their season is over. I'm hoping, fishing. Yeah, they going fishing. They 1, 2, 3 Cancun type situation or whatever. I'm really hoping they can come back with Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond, like as the core or whatnot. But I do feel like they got to add one more piece. I don't know what that piece should be, but they add in one strong piece. I really do believe they can contend next year. But Jimmy and Steph, they're not getting no younger or whatnot. So that's why I'm saying Draymond either. I know they're really high on Kuminga, but like I just haven't seen Jonathan Kuminga. I haven't seen the consistency from him yet to believe that he can kind of like be a top tier player for 82 games yet, but they got to bring somebody in who can be that top tier guy to give Steph a spell, to give Jimmy Butler a spell or whatever. So we'll see what happens. But going back to Minnesota, they've advanced. They're in the Western Conference Finals for the second year in a row, and we're gonna talk about that man, the Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards or whatever. And the reason why I want to go ahead and land the plane here, talking about this topic right here, is because I had some of my basketball players run up on me today. For those of you who don't know, I'm coaching basketball now too. I'm coaching track and field. I'm getting into the coaching realm or whatever, and I'm absolutely loving working with these kids. Some of them came up to me today, Mr. Ricks, man, hey, who's better, Steph Curry or Ant Edwards? Who's better? And I'm like, come on now, hold on, fellas. That's a loaded question, first and foremost, because
not even. There's no comparison.
There's no comparison because you got to ask two different questions there. Yeah. Who has the better career right now? It's no question Steph Curry, like 4 championships, greatest 3-point shooter of all time, all types of records or whatever. But who's the better athlete right now? Come on, it's Ant. You know what I mean? So, like, that's why I feel like it's a loaded question to say who's better, Steph or Ant. What do you think about that? And shout out to my Scarlet Roadrunners or whatever, 20-0, 2 undefeated seasons. We did get that championship for the Ann Arbor City League. Holla at your boy. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Nice shout out. Steph all day. There's no comparison. Yeah, obviously, Ant Edwards is one of the most athletic and, like, up-and-coming players coming through the league right now. I mean, he's so entertaining. He's charismatic, all those things that we need as a face of the NBA.
Yeah.
But he's not there yet because some of the other faces are still there, right?
Exactly.
But he's up and coming. But as far as what he's doing out on the court is special. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The way he's attacking the rim, I think people are so afraid when he's coming downhill at the rim. Sometimes I wonder why the guy ever shoots a 3-pointer.
Well, because he can make them.
Because he can make them, right? But the fear that he puts in the team when he's coming downhill, everybody just wants to get out of his way because they're afraid to get dunked. So,
and it could happen with the Ant-Man.
For sure. And so, like, in my opinion, there's no question. Steph is the better player. He's generational.
Absolutely.
Like, he's changed the game.
Yes, man. He did.
Like, when I was a young person playing, nobody was trying to shoot 6 feet behind the 3-point line.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, the coach probably would never let you play, right? Because he'd be yanking you out of the game, talking about throw it inside.
Yeah.
But on top of that, it just wasn't a thing, right? And then Steph comes along and hitting all these bombs from all over the court, and now all kids want to learn to shoot.
All like kids. I mean, it's even translated in the NBA.
Like that,
yeah, the NBA too, though. Look how many 3-pointers the Boston Celtics shoot on average every game or whatever. Yeah. So you know what I mean. It's definitely transcended.
Living and dying by the 3.
Living and dying, man, and that does come from Steph.
Yeah.
That came from Steph. He definitely changed the game. So there's no question. Steph is the better player, but like Ant right now at this very moment is the better athlete, and probably in a one-on-one. Who would you take in those two right now if they played right now? Who you taking one-on-one?
One-on-one right now?
One-on-one right now. Ant and Steph.
We talking healthy stuff?
Healthy. Both healthy. Yeah, full 100% healthy. You take a Steph one-on-one all day. I love it. Because Ant, he'll take on that challenge all day.
He will.
He's got a lot of bravado.
He'll get tired, though. You chasing stuff around. Trying to keep up with him and all that. Steph is a motor that's never been seen before in the NBA.
No question.
You listen to a lot of people talk about how he works out. That's what it's about.
Exactly.
He's a motor. He just goes. So
let me shut this down. Man. Let me shut down. Let me shut this down with this final question right here. When it comes to Steph Curry and LeBron James, how many more years do you think they got in the tank?
Man, that's a great question. LeBron, given the injury he just had at the end of this season, I don't know. I could see him walking away at the end of this year.
Wow.
Like, but
I don't see that.
I don't know if that's enough for him, but maybe he thinks he's going to win some more championships. I guess I just don't see it in his path right now, especially with all the other young talent around the league and the way they're playing. So I'm like, kind of, why not now?
Okay. No, that's cool.
Steph, I could see playing maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 years. Maybe one more contract.
One more contract. Yeah. Me, I think LeBron got at least 3 in him. I think LeBron, because like the dude clearly loves the game of basketball.
Yeah, no doubt he loves the game.
You're talking about him stepping away right now.
You got to do in the game, right?
But
except for win more championships.
You know how these cats get. Look at Tom Brady. Look what Tom Brady did. You know what I mean? I think he has. I don't know about the championships or whatnot, but as far as like extending all the records that he already has, why not? Getting more opportunities to play with your son. And let's not forget, he's got another son coming right behind him who might end up, being a lottery pick down the road or whatever if he sticks on the right path or whatnot. So I could see LeBron going another 3 years, but maybe after another 1 or 2, he'll hang it up.
Yeah.
Steph, though, because he is such a phenomenal shooter, if he wants to play another 10 years, why not just become a spot-up shooter? You know what I mean? Like when it gets to that point where he can't run around like that or whatever.
I'll tell you why that'll never happen. Because ain't nobody ever going to just let Steph Curry.
Nah, that's true. That's true.
And that's
a solid point. That's a solid point. Ain't nobody leaving Steph Curry open.
Ain't nobody gonna leave him, so it ain't gonna help.
Steph got another 4 or 5 years in him, though, man. I think he do. I think Steph got another 4 or 5 or whatever. But
he might.
He can extend it, man. Listen, man, this was an awesome freaking conversation. I knew it was gonna be fun.
Yep.
The debut of the Rick's Review podcast with the Toledo Basketball Hall of Famer Nick Moore, offering his golf knowledge, talking some buckets, talking some basketball, man. This is what it's gonna be about, folks. I'm gonna have guests on here a lot. Sometimes I'm going to be solo because I might have something to get off my chest and I might need your full undivided attention. You never know when it comes to the Rick's Review podcast, but for our very first one, I'm going to go ahead and mark a check mark as being very successful, and it's because of this man right here giving me the assist. Nick, I appreciate you to the fullest. Yeah. Folks, this is what we do here on the Food Folks Fun Podcast Network, the Rick's Review podcast. We're going to hit you with this on a weekly basis or whatnot, have great guests, sometimes some solo time or whatever for us to just have a therapeutic session, whatever it may be. But make sure you like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube at Food Folks Fun. Make sure you find us on all the social medias. We're all over the place. Obviously, you can find me on Instagram at Rick's Review. I'm on Twitter as well at JB_Ricks. Man, we're all over the place. FoodFolksFun.com. Hit us with your shout outs. Hit us with your comments. Hit us with somebody you might want us to profile or might have a guest on the show. Whatever it may be. We're here for the people. We are here for you. And we are here to talk about food, folks, fun, sports, entertainment, news, everything, man. Mark it all down, man. That's what we're here for. Appreciate y'all taking out the time. We love you to death. We'll see you in another week. Peace.